Oh, did you guys hear my cat meow as soon as that was so weird. As soon as the stream kicked in to live, Lucy just started meowing about something. All right, everybody, let's wait until I see it. You guys know me. I gotta wait until it comes on because I don't have a producer. So there we go. YouTube is awake, Twitter is awake, and Rockfin is awake. That was quick today. How about that? And Lucy's meowing about something. I don't know what's going on, but Lucy's noticing something. Anyway, we'll get right to it. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday as I adjust my knee. And good morning to all my West Coasters. Did my time zone first. Good afternoon to everybody out east. And good evening if you're in Lucy, what's wrong? What's going on? Lucy's meowing. I don't know if you can hear her, but she's something's up. Did you find she might have killed a critter or something, and she wants a prize. I don't know. But yeah, she's randomly just all up in my grill, like meow, meow, meow. Anyway, hope everybody's well. Shout out to everyone who makes the show possible. Our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left is the place to find all the content creators you know and love under one roof. You can, they stream, they collect streamers and article writers, and they compile a list and they update it twice a day to find out everything they got going on and to subscribe to their Discord. Check them out at independentleft.media. And of course, yours truly made their theme song. So, guys, Lucy, what the hell? What's this going? I don't know if you guys can hear her or not, but she's vocal this morning. I think it's because she's excited about the guest, really. I think that's what it is. I think Lucy is stoked for the guest and she wants to ask him some questions too. So I heard this guy on Richard Wolff's podcast, Economic Update, which is a brilliant podcast. I recommend it. Here she is. She jumped up. Weird day. Lucy, here, what's up? You want to chill? All right. Anyway, Lucy, for those of you listening to the podcast later, Lucy's all over the place. She just jumped up. Usually she's chill. But anyway, I heard this guy on Richard Wolff's podcast, and he had a lot of very interesting things to say about third parties in Vermont that we're going to talk about. This is something I think a lot of people don't know about. The future of labor in general, and of course, a general strike. He was talking a lot of general strike. And you guys know me, whenever I hear general strike, I just get all excited inside. I just get all giddy. So I'm excited to talk to this guy. He is the president of the Vermont AFL-CIO. Please welcome to the show, Mr. David Van Dusen. David, how are you?
Doing good. Pleasure to be with you today, Ron.
Thanks for coming on. So let's jump right into it. I heard you on Richard Wolff's podcast, and I really appreciated the stuff you were saying and just the things you were pointing out. So let's start with third parties.
Sure.
You pointed out that in Vermont, where you live, you don't have a two-party system. You have a three-party system. Can you explain that for everybody?
Absolutely. So one of our United States senators, you may have heard of him. His name is Bernie Sanders.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. So in the 1980s, when he ran successfully and won as an independent at the time for mayor of Burlington, our largest city, he founded something called the Progressive Coalition. He was getting pushback from the Democratic Party. He was getting, obviously, resistance from the Republican Party. So he formed the Progressive Coalition. This coalition became the Progressive Party. The Progressive Party in Vermont is essentially a pro-labor, social democratic party which has a caucus, independent caucus in the State House, both in folks elected to Senate, State Senate, and to the House of Representatives. We also, until recently, have had the Lieutenant Governor seat, which was David Zuckerman, who did a fabulous job as Lieutenant Governor. And presently, with statewide office, the auditor is from that party as well. So they are a viable, real third party in the state, pro-union, pro-labor, left-leaning, social democratic. And they also are the largest party in our largest city of Burlington, with more seats on the city council than any other party. So they're very real. And in the last several election cycles, the Vermont AFL-CIO has been proud to endorse them and their slates for office, both statewide and in the city of Burlington. In fact, tomorrow, we have a special election for Ward 3 in Burlington, where we've endorsed the Progressive Party candidate, Joe McGee, for city council. And frankly, we expect to win that race. So in my opinion, it's hugely important for organized labor to not just endorse people because they have a D next to their name. The Democratic Party has repeatedly failed us, both federally and on state and local matters for decades. You'd have to go back some years, perhaps to FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt before you could see a time when the Democratic Party was squarely with labor. So in Vermont, we're trying to build an alternative. We're supporting this third party. And we see this as a potential model for the way we can approach electoral politics in the rest of the United States.
So go into the model a little bit. To my knowledge, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here. The Progressive Party has been around since 1999. So how did I mean how like kind of in a Cliff Notes summary, how did they come to be so viable so quickly?
Well, look, they had a base that was built in the largest city in Burlington, and that's where they start from. And Bernie Sanders played the major role in making that possible. Once they had that base, once they had that foothold, once they were winning elections in for city council, then it was only a matter of time before they branch out. And unlike many aspects of the Democratic Party, from the start, they were squarely in favor of standing with organized labor, standing with small family farmers, and working very diligently on these issues that matter. So when they've had further electoral success in places that are somewhat more conservative, like the Northeast Kingdom and down in Rutland County, they did so by building real grassroots relationships, right? And talking to issues that matter to people. Where we often see on the federal level, the Democrats will pay lip service to unions and they'll talk about things like the PRO Act. But when push comes to shove, it's far and few between they actually deliver on their promises. The Progressive Party, while I would not claim that it's anything utopian or perfect, they have stood true to their campaign promises. And when they run on a platform of saying, we're going to support the small farmer, they do exactly that when issues come up relevant to small farmers in the State House. So the fact that we don't see hypocrisy coming out of this party, the fact that we actually see them sticking to the promises they made to their constituents has bought credibility among folks, right? So look, you're not going to change a two-party system overnight. The Democrats in Vermont are by far massively the largest party. The Republicans are the second largest, and the Progressives, although growing, are smaller than these two, right? But it's a start. And by having a viable option to the left of the Democrats has helped us been able to push further left in a more progressive, more pro-union direction on a number of different issues. So they represent a great model. But like you're going to hear from a lot of folks around the United States that it's simply not possible. Well, look, demographically, Vermont should be the most conservative, pro-Republican state in the nation. We're not very diverse. We're an aging population, and we are one of the most rural states in the country. And yet, our politics are way left of center. I would say more progressive on many issues than California even. So it can be done. It must be done.
Well, why do you think that is?
Go on. Sorry, Ron.
Well, I was just going to interject. Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think Vermont is so left of center despite all the factors you mentioned?
Well, again, I mean, we have a more robust democracy here. So something that we do is called town meeting. And once a year, every single community in the state gets together and makes major decisions about their local communities. And in this form of government, the legislative branch of government is every single person who lives in a community who gathers together to raise their hand and vote yes or no on the issues facing them during the town meeting. And when folks are expected to place a vote on the future of their communities, and they know that that matters, folks tend to be more educated on the issues. So where catchphrases and campaign ads may resonate with many folks in different parts of the country where they don't have a vested interest, they don't have an actual vote on how many decisions are made, perhaps many folks will tune out. Where, in my opinion, Vermont is more left of center because folks feel that their voice matters, so they engage more in the issues and educate themselves more on the issues. Again, it's not utopian. You know, we have our challenges, we have our frustrations, but I would challenge you to find any place in the United States that is more progressive at its best than the state of Vermont.
No, I mean, and I think like in some ways, the very a very kind of somewhat simplistic, but still like somewhat accurate summary of what you said is just Localism is the way. Localism is the way. Um, you have one of the things you talked about on Richard Wolff's show was a general strike.
Mhm.
Where does from the AFL-CIO standpoint in Vermont, and then also nationally, where do y'all stand on a general strike right now?
Well, in general, I would say that the strike, our labor as working people, as unions, our power is in our labor. Let's not forget that governments have collapsed when workers have refused to engage in their jobs on a daily basis through general strikes. This is not new. This is something that's been going on for centuries, for that matter. But if we fail to recognize where our power is, if we come to the mistaken belief that our power does not rest in our labor and in our shops and our unity, but instead rests with folks with suits and ties on in Washington, D.C., then we're giving up our power before we even exercise it. So we need to have the general strike on the table as a political tool, as a weapon to push back against the reactionary politics of an increasingly neo-fascist Republican Party in the United States. This needs to always be part of the discussion. We can't cede that territory to the enemy, especially when you see these attacks on democracy going on in states throughout the union right now, including Texas and Florida, et cetera.
Well, do you think that the time is now? I mean, I've reached a conclusion that I think without a general strike, we're not going to get the type of change that we need. When you look at the climate, when you look at just all of the factors in our country right now, I think that throughout the pandemic, our government at the federal level has revealed itself to be nothing more than a corporate coup. And I think that Joe Biden thus far has only kept two campaign promises: I won't ban fracking and nothing will fundamentally change. So, I mean, do you think that a general strike is inevitable?
In a big picture of history, yes, I do. In the short term, I would take a more I would take a more slower approach, meaning this. I would support a general strike this afternoon, for that matter, if what was at stake was healthcare for every single American,
Mhm.
livable wages for every single American. I mean, there's a short list of things that I think warrant such attention. But we as labor leaders would be foolish to get too far out ahead of our rank and file. Without buy-in and participation from our rank and file, we can make all of the proclamations we want, but they will not be made real when push comes to shove, when we need folks in the streets on the barricades. So when we called for our general strike, potential general strike, it was very specifically if there was not a transfer in power on January 20th and Trump did not vacate the White House. At the time, we had very grave concerns, as did, as it turns out, top military officials in this government, that Trump would not cede power. Under those conditions, we believed that our rank and file would be with us and we would be able to shut down the state of Vermont, and we would hope that other states would follow. But that was a very specific situation defending very core aspects of democracy, where we think our members would be at. And further, we posed the question to our rank and file at a convention. We didn't make a unilateral decision as a leadership board or me as president. And when we did, we debated it for an hour, and 87% of our delegates voted in favor of authorizing the executive board to call for a general strike. But again, that's where our members were. That's where they were at. So I would personally, of course, support a movement towards a general strike to go on the offensive, to win more democracy, to win more social securities, to win more union rights for all workers in this country. But I don't know that we are there yet as a movement and as a country. And we need to change our culture within labor. We need to change the way we engage our rank and file to make actions like that more plausible, political actions like that more plausible in the short term, medium term, and long term.
Sure. So, but I mean, would it be possible? And when I ask these questions, I'm not like putting all of this on your shoulders as an individual. That wouldn't be fair. But would it be plausible to, potentially bring it up again and just say, here are our demands as a country, Medicare for all, living wages, end the wars, and can we authorize a general strike if these demands are not met?
It's plausible, but we would need buy-in on a large scale from a number of significant international unions. You know, when I think about this, I'm talking about where does the building trade stand on such issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where SEIU stand on such issues? What are our constituent unions willing to do and able to do with their capacity to reach down into their ranks to mobilize and organize and educate around these issues? Right now, today, I don't see that culture and that leadership being in place on the national scale to do it proactively. This is something we're trying to change in a broader sense, right? The AFL-CIO of Vermont, we've reached out to more progressive unions and locals and central labor councils across the country seeking to build a progressive caucus within the national AFL-CIO. So I would take a medium-term view of this and recognize that much back work has to be done. I mean, a year doesn't go by or 6 months doesn't go by where a leftist organization doesn't reach out to me and ask if the Vermont AFL-CIO would support them in their call for a general strike. There's been dozens of calls from marginal left-wing groups. But until you have organized labor as such and significant aspects of organized labor buying into it, it's a pipe dream. But we need to work to make this a reality. And the way we're going to do that is to change our culture from within, not put tens of millions of dollars into elections that don't get us things like the PRO Act, but put tens of millions of dollars into internal organizing, new organizing, and seeking to further democratize our labor movement as it is now.
So you said that on Richard Wolff's show, that specific quote, and I loved it. So I'm really glad you repeated it here. And I was going for a jog, and when you said that, I was just like, I gotta email this guy. Can you unpack that a little bit? Like when you say organizing, putting tens of millions into organizing instead of electoralism. What are some examples of that? What do you mean specifically? Like go into some specifics.
Well, look, I recognize Vermont's not the biggest state in the country, and I say it facetiously. We have about 600,000 folks, right, in our total population. But even here, we have an national AFL-CIO organizer based out of Boston, in a day-to-day kind of way. That's not help. That's not providing too much support or help for the New Hampshire AFL-CIO, the Vermont AFL-CIO, or the Maine AFL-CIO. It's just not. So what we did in our small way, we want to lead by example here in Vermont. When our progressive slate took office in 2019, we swept elections, 2 elections in a row now. When we took office, one of the first things we did is we eliminated the line item budget for a lobbyist in Montpelier. And we reallocated that money to bring on what we call on-call organizers to assist affiliates in either new organizing or internal organizing. Internal organizing may mean building a system of rank and file contacts throughout a larger shop so they could respond to issues or pushback when the bosses come after them, right? And effectively resist it. New organizing is pretty self-evident. That's to organize new workers. So we did this in our small way here to provide real assistance to our affiliates, as opposed to just making proclamations or taking principled positions on things. The national AFL-CIO would be wise to do the same thing. Take tens of millions out of the elections, put a number of organizers, full-time organizers in every single state, all 50 states, to help existing unions organize new shops and create a real system of rank and file contacts throughout their existing shops so we can effectively mobilize, so we can organize to seize more political power. This would mean a totally different new approach to the way labor does things in this country. And it would amplify our power tenfold over a period of years. But to do it, we got to get away from the fear that we have so much to lose if we don't elect, hundreds of shitty Democrats back to Washington. Because let's not kid ourselves. We have not won. We have not got much bang for our buck. So it's time to reassess and take
putting it gently.
Yeah.
So that makes total sense to me. That sounds 100% right on. But one of the other things you mentioned on Richard Wolff's show and in other areas is you get some pushback nationally. Can you go into some of that? Can you unpack some of that?
Well, look, if you don't get pushed, if you're trying to do things differently, if you're trying to move organized labor to the left, and if you don't get pushback, you're clearly not doing your job, right? There's set lanes that labor leaders are supposed to fall into, right? And one pole of it is the Democrats, who are more conservative. The other side is the Democrats that are a little more liberal. And they want you to stay in these lanes. They want to channel the energy through the electoral process exclusively, almost. They want to channel the energy through short-term legislative gains or goals. And that's where they want to see the focus. Is when you step outside of those lanes, you're going to get hammered from different sides of the political aisle. And that's fine, right? And we accept that when we're trying to experiment and try to build power in a new kind of way here in Vermont, we're going to get pushback from the national AFL-CIO at times. We're going to get pushback for those that have a vested interest in the system of lobbying and the system of supporting the Democratic Party that folks have unfortunately become accustomed to. So that's okay, right? And we'll take our lumps, right? We're not crying about any of this. We're trying to make change, and sometimes change is hard. So the national AFL-CIO was not happy with the direction we were going. And perhaps they're still not, but like that comes with the territory. And you can't be afraid of taking a few lumps along the way if you're going to make that change.
So let me ask you this, and this is kind of a more practical question based on an experience that I had in my personal life. You know, as you well know, and can probably speak to this better than I can, you know, based on your experience, there has been a very, very structured defanging attempt at unions over the past 50 years or so in this country. And again, I'm sure you can speak to this way better than I can. And as a result, you have some people who, you know, they have a different view on unions and the potential of unions based on their experiences. You know, like I know someone I was talking about unions and how I'm pro-union, and the person told me a story where they were part of a union that didn't really have their back, and at one point told them they had to choose between healthcare or a 401k. You couldn't get both, and stuff like that does happen. How do you kind of win those people back over to see what a union can really be, and that there are still good unions despite all these efforts to make that not a thing?
Well, you win them over by winning, right? That might sound a little simplistic, but here, our leaders here in Vermont, they have credibility because they've won. They won at the bargaining table. They've won grievances. They've won on the bread and butter issues. And if you can't deliver on the bread and butter issues, if you can't deliver on a fair raise that matches or exceeds inflation, if you can't win on defending the healthcare they already have, why are folks going to take your word for something new, something different, something that might be outside their comfort zone? So you have to do the core things right. You have to do the bargaining right. You have to deal with workplace issues right. And ideally, you got to do that by engaging the rank and file. The union isn't me. The union isn't the president of the local. The union isn't even the steward. The union is everybody together, working together towards a common goal in common self-defense, right? But if you can't get folks motivated, if you can't get folks working together, if you can't win those bread and butter issues, you're not going to have the credibility you need down the road to create a more radical, more progressive, more forward-thinking labor movement. So while we do these core things well and continue to do them well, and as we build credibility among the rank and file and engage them, we don't make deals behind closed doors in smoky rooms. We don't play golf with the bosses, right? As we work with our rank and file to engage them in the issues we're facing and we win, that's when we're going to motivate folks. That's when we're going to get them excited. And that's how we're going to show that another politics is not only possible, but it's necessary.
How would you describe the future of labor?
The future of labor has to be rank and file driven. Now, the truth is most of our labor unions are not nearly as democratic as they need to be. We were talking about democracy in Vermont in a larger way when we started talking, right? And people become more educated on issues when their vote matters, when their voice matters. And when they become educated on issues and don't base their political and social opinions based on sound bites, but they really look at it naturally, because I believe our side is right? They're going to move in a more progressive direction. But that also translates into the unions themselves. We have to engage our members in the major decisions of our day. We can't have an executive board or a president potentially calling unilaterally for a general strike. We have to go to our membership like we did and ask them to debate it and make a decision on their own. And once we do that, and once we consistently engage the membership, they're going to feel more ownership over the labor movement as such. So this is a cultural change that has to happen. It has to happen at the same time at the top and the bottom. So we look forward to supporting progressive national leaders that also support a rank and file democracy at the same time when we try to build and pressure for rank and file democracy from below.
So where can people go, in closing here, where can people go to learn more?
If folks want to know more about what we're up to here in Vermont, they could go to our website. If you do a quick internet search of the Vermont AFL-CIO, it'll turn up. There you could click on About Us, and you could see our 10-point program for union power, which is the most progressive AFL-CIO platform in the United States of America. Please take a look. Give us feedback. Give it a read. Pass it around. It's together that we're going to make the change that we need to see.
Well, David, thank you so much for being here. I was excited to pick your brain after I heard that interview, and I look forward to seeing the future developments with everything you got going on.
Anytime, Ron. Solidarity.
Cheers. Peace. All right, there we go. I highly recommend checking out his interview on Economic Update as well, and that's just I think a lot of the stuff he's saying, that's where labor needs to go. And I was looking forward to talking to him. I'm glad we got to today. So check out the AFL-CIO website of Vermont and look at their 10-point plan. Check that out. And before we go here, folks, tour dates, I got them. RonPlacone.com. Don't wait. Get your tickets now. We kick off September 11th in San Francisco. That's Grimoto and myself. San Francisco, Sacramento, Los Angeles. We got some LA shows. Tucson, Tempe, Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Philly, New York City, Washington, D.C., Asheville, North Carolina, Jacksonville, Gainesville, Orlando, Miami, Tampa, Nashville, Louisville, Indianapolis, Chicago, Minneapolis, Madison. Don't wait. Get your tickets now. RonPlacone.com. And also got some thank yous. I got some thank yous for the movie. And if you haven't yet, please do check out the film trailer for my movie Left at Wall. We are currently amidst the GoFundMe for that movie. Please do check it out. And if you like what you see, you can just go to GoFundMe.com and type in Left at Wall, and it will come up. That's Left at Wall. And I'll go ahead and drop the link in the chat too. Check it out. Even if you are not in a position where you can contribute, watch the trailer anyway. Here, let me hold on. Let me make sure I get the link right here. Check it out anyway. I want everybody to see this trailer, to be excited about this movie. If you are in a place where you can make a contribution, that's huge, and I appreciate it very much. But even if you're not, please check it out anyway, and watch the trailer and share it on your social media. And if you know somebody who's really rich and wants to invest in films, give them my email. Tell them to check it out. But anyway, I got some thank yous for the contributions. And by the way, there's a lot of perks if you contribute. If you contribute to the GoFundMe, first of all, you get a thank you on Get Your News On with Ron. There's going to be behind the scenes footage that we'll be documenting throughout the filming of the movie, and we're going to share that with you. So you're going to get a ton of exclusive videos. And there's even a virtual screening with a Q&A with the cast that's going to be happening when the movie's finished. So to check out all those perks, you can go to our GoFundMe site. It's just GoFundMe, and you can type in Left at Wall, and it will come up. But let me thank some of the people who have donated so far, or contributed rather so far. Donna Meyering, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Donna. I appreciate it. Setimo Canatella, thank you very much. That's a beautiful name, by the way. Setimo Canatella. I love it. That's beautiful. And you say, good luck, Ron. I love your work, and I wish you much success with its release. Thank you so much for that, Setimo, and thank you so much for being part of it. I appreciate that very much. Oh, and another perk I forgot to mention, certain tiers, you get your name listed in the credits. You get to be in the credits of the movie. Right on. Nick Brana. Shout out to the People's Party, and thank you so much for your contribution, Nick Braun. I very much appreciate it. Robert Gilbert, thank you very, very much. Brendan Pagano, thank you so much, and I hope all is well in Philadelphia. Diane Bozzetto, thank you very, very much for your contribution. Dave Reinitz, shout out to Flappers Comedy Club. That's where Dave Reinitz is one of the movers and shakers over there at Flappers Comedy Club. And thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate it. I hope you're well, buddy. Private. All right, so we got a private one. If you list it as private, I won't say your name because I'm not sure if you want me to. But thank you for your generous contribution. I appreciate it very much. Ben Godick, thank you very, very much for your contribution. I appreciate it. Joan Bradley, thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. And Michelle Watkins, thank you so much, Michelle. I hope you and the fam are doing spectacular. Guys, I got to be honest. I already throughout this project, I've shed tears a couple times already. Really. The emails that people have sent me about the movie trailer and the contributions that y'all have given and the notes you've sent, it has made me emotional several times already, and it will probably make me emotional a lot more. And so I appreciate it so much. And please check out the trailer. If you are interested in contributing, please do so. It means the world and then some. There's a lot of cool perks. And this movie is a put up or shut up moment for me, or a put out, or go hard or go home, however you want to phrase it. This is one of those moments for me. This is the biggest undertaking I've ever undertaken in my life. I've thought about it. It's the biggest one. And, I'm feeling it. It's a little overwhelming at times. It's a little frightening at times. But it's really freaking exciting. And thank you all for your encouragement and your support. I appreciate it very, very much. And special thanks again to David Van Dusen, our guest today, who is the president of the AFL-CIO in Vermont. And local is dope. I'm pretty sure if you really wanted to nuts and bolts what he was talking about, local is dope. So we got to take back our communities. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy, she says meow. She's asleep on her cat tree. She was real excited earlier. Like she was running around. She was like meowing. You guys probably heard her. But she pooped out really quick. Now she's just kind of chilling on the cat tree. She's also in the trailer, by the way. Lucy has an appearance in the trailer, and she will be appearing in the film. She plays herself. She even gets her own name. I'm playing the main role, but he is not named Ron. His name is John. We mixed it up. But Lucy is just, she just still gets to be Lucy. She gets to keep her own name, and she's playing a cat. That'd be funny if she was playing something else. Lucy's in the movie. She plays a ferret. Nope, Lucy's a cat in the movie. She just plays herself. But anyway, you know the drill. She says meow. I say peace. I say peace, love, and a general strike. But let's plan that general strike, and let's do it right. I'm here to help. I want to do my role. And people like David got to help me understand what that role is. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Tornates.replico.com. Check out the movie trailer. It means the world and then some. And peace, love, and a general strike. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.